Oh, hey guys, it's like, what? 7 AM? Oh, I don't know why I'm up. Anyhow, it's time to talk about King Asriel Dreemurr. What do you mean he's the prince, not the king? But in my fanfiction... Oh, right, he's not even king in that. Well, let's say he is for a moment. What would be different? I'm jumping too far ahead, you say? He's dead? Oh, but in my fanfic? Oh, okay, never mind. Well, let's really think about it for a moment. What if Asriel never died, huh? Things would be pretty different, right? For starters, no all-out war on humanity. Huh. A second one, that is. Toriel wouldn't have left Asgore. Okay, this is getting pretty interesting. Asgore wouldn't have collected the 6 human souls. Sans would have a less of a you'd be dead where you stand type attitude, and maybe Papyrus wouldn't be so obsessed with catching humans. Maybe I'm getting a little ahead of myself with that one. Let's take a very in-depth look at how different things would have been if Asriel Dreemurr had never died, shall we? I could just always go back to bed. Ah, King Asgore. Such a sympathetic character really, though you guys don't seem to agree with me on that. Well, let's really review the facts before we judge him. It seems he was involuntarily forced into a war with humanity, which resulted in him and his people being trapped underground. After the fallen human, otherwise known as Chara, fell down and also found themselves trapped underground, Asgore and his wife Toriel determined to look after them and raise them as their own adopted child, alongside their biological child, Asriel. I guess monsters are just nice like that. However, things took a turn for the worse when Chara fell sick and then eventually died. Their last wish was to see the golden flowers of where they had come from, and so Asriel took it upon himself to carry Chara's body there. Doing that was only made possible through the power that he had received by absorbing their soul. This is unfortunately when tragedy struck. The humans mistook Asriel for a murderer and assumed that he had killed the human he was carrying. They attacked him, though Asriel refused to fight back, knowing that with the power of a human soul combined with his monster soul, he would easily defeat them. The monsters were thrown into despair. The heir of the kingdom was lost. The only way Asgore could recover his people's trust was the promise to go to war with humanity, to take the souls of the next 7 humans who fell upon Mount Ebott in order to destroy the barrier. So, in summary, Asriel's death triggered a second war of humanity, and a whole deal of ramifications that came afterwards. But hold on a moment. What if the humans never attacked Asriel and he never died? Well, for starters, the big one. No war. The 6 humans that fell down before you would be alive and well, and quite possibly in the care of Toriel and Asgore. There's another big change. The 2 of them wouldn't be living apart. They'd both be in the capital, new home, still happily married, looking after their son, Asriel. Toriel left Asgore because she was disgusted that he would slay innocent humans just to acquire their souls. If he had never declared war, he would never have taken those innocent lives, so therefore there's presumably no reason as to why they wouldn't still be together. If there was no war, the Royal Guard likely wouldn't have anything to do other than to protect the king. Would Papyrus and Sans be sentries in Snowdin still? Quite possibly not. Or they might not even be skeletons according to my previous theory, but that's something completely different. Click here if you want to watch that video. Though I'm sure Papyrus would still be incredibly enthusiastic about cooking spaghetti, there's no reason as to why he would still be obsessed with capturing humans anymore, unless it was to bring them to Toriel and Asgore to be looked after rather than slain. And as for Sans, he likely wouldn't hold such a grudge against humanity anymore. We can assume that he was ready to kill humans before Toriel's intervention because of the war. But as there is no war, as Asriel never died, chances are he'd just be his normal joking about self, and Toriel would have never needed to make him promise not to kill humans, as he wouldn't be doing that in the first place. Snowdin Town would probably be much the same, so there isn't much to say there. Let's move on to Waterfall and its inhabitants. Waterfall is a dark and melancholy place, but perhaps not that melancholy without the added burden of Asriel's death. For starters, Undyne wouldn't be so driven by a hatred of humans anymore. Knowing her, she would probably be quite restless still, and still want to find a way out of the underground, though she would likely also be a lot more friendly, particularly to humans. And the demise would be demise still. We'd see a significant change in Hotlands, particularly with Dr. Alfie's. In this timeline, the monsters have accepted that humans aren't their enemy, and perhaps even their friends. That also means that they're probably not as driven to break the barrier. Without that compulsion, Alphys would have never needed to conduct her experiments using determination, and therefore she likely wouldn't be as socially awkward and perhaps even as depressed as she is before you meet her. Without her life being full of stress and repressed horrors, if she did turn her attention to taking down the barrier, it's possible that she could find a way without ever needing to take the human souls. I've no doubt that in the main timeline, that her past failures hold her back from reaching her true potential and genius. As for Metaton, if anything, he would have a smaller audience. Without the state of depression that Asriel's death brought the kingdom, monsters would have less need to be cheered up with his slightly banal sense of entertainment. Otherwise, he'd probably be as egocentric and flamboyant as ever. Everything is looking pretty promising so far. So finally, where do Asriel and Frisk fit into this alternate timeline? I expect Frisk would receive the same treatment as the previous 6 humans, which, judging by how kind most monsters are, would be to get looked after and cared for, likely by Toriel and Asgore. Asriel would still have Chara's soul, the same soul that pushes him to commit evil acts. So you're telling me that in the long run, it's a good thing that Asriel died? Don't be silly. If Asriel Dreemurr had never died, there would have been no war, and while the monster's escape from the underground may have been delayed a little, it's quite possible that they would have eventually found a way out without there ever being any need for bloodshed. As for what Asriel himself would be doing, I have no idea. I seem to have forgotten whatever occurred in the past 5 minutes. How strange. Anyhow, I'll see you next time.